You know what's one of the great things about this channel? I don't have an intro, so let's get started. All right, for this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to thread your needle, 2 basic stitches, and how to end the stitch. I'm also going to be using my daughter's Christmas present from her pop-up, her first sewing kit. This is not sponsored, but I'm just speaking it into existence. Jesus. One of these days, I'm going to be like, for this sponsored video, if you're trying to learn how to sew, you could get things like this. You know what I'm saying? Who gonna tell you something? All right, let's get into it. For this lesson, you're going to need a pair of scissors, thread, a needle. This is a plastic needle. I am doing this so that my camera doesn't have to focus. Like, you'll be able to see me thread this needle. You'll also need fabric. This is felt. I love felt, especially for beginners because it is so easy to use. You can get it from the Dollar Tree store, the art supplies section in any store. Grab your needle and thread. Let's thread that needle. I like my thread to be completely straight because if there's any little fuzzies at the end, it's going to be hard to push that thread through the needle hole, especially if the hole is small. I also like to lick the tip of the thread, or I know there's certain products like wax for thread to help get the thread through the needle hole. Push the thread through the needle hole like this, or you can use a needle threader. You would take the metal part and push it through the hole of the needle. Then you would take the thread and put it through that wider hole. Make sure you're not putting too much thread through that needle threader because then it will be hard for you to pull the thread through the needle. Now let's tie our knot. You want to make sure the ends are even or close to it. Then I'm going to try to tie this as slow as possible so you can see my steps. Once you start to create that knot, try your best to push it down towards the end without losing your knot. This might take a couple of takes. Now that you have your knot, let us start with our first stitch. This is called the straight stitch. We're basically going in a straight line. I have holes in my fabric because that's how the kit came. However, you can take some chalk and draw some lines on your draw some dots on your fabric to help you stay on track. Starting from the back, we're going to push our needle through the fabric, and we want to make sure our thread doesn't come out like that. You want to make sure your thread is like this, where you cannot pull the knot through. Sometimes that happens because your needle is too big and it created a huge hole, or your knot was too small. So just retie your knot. Now go down into the fabric and we're going to repeat those steps. You pull up, then you go down, pull up, and then you go down. Repeat those steps until it is time to finish the stitch. Leave about 2 to 3 inches of remaining thread. This way it will be easier for you to tie a knot to end your stitch. Here I am pulling the thread up, cutting it, and just tying a simple knot like I will tie my shoes. I always double tie because I like security. I want to make sure that my stitch will not come undone. Cut off the excess thread and you have finished your first stitch. Let's move on to the blanket stitch. You're going to start the same way, coming from the back. Then you're going to go around again from the back and pull. Don't pull too hard because you want this little loop right here. You're going to push your needle through that loop. That's your first stitch. Repeat that steps by coming from the back and pushing through that loop and then pull. Now you have your second stitch, and this is how your stitches will continue to look, kind of like a little four, like 4H. Y'all remember that? Anyway, continue to do the steps. Keep coming from the back and pushing through that loop until you create the blanket stitch. Now, this is how I end my blanket stitch. I'm not an expert. This is just what I do, so don't yell at me, okay, if you're an expert. I separate my threads. I take my needle to pull one thread through. That way I can just double tie and call it a day. Tell me in the comments how you would end your blanket stitch. No clothing or project have never come undone with this knot. First lesson is complete. You should be proud of yourself. And if you tried it, I want to see. If you don't want me to share it on my social media, that is fine, but I still want to see. So send me a little DM, okay? You learn how to thread your needle. You learn two stitches, and you learn how to end the stitch. You also learn some facts in there. I hope you appreciated that. So I hope you are enjoying these videos. And if I was to put these stitches into a word, today you learned about the straight stitch. What are we doing with the straight stitch, huh? We're going straight and narrow, just like our faith walk, straight. And with the blanket stitch, you're creating an over. Pull, wait, no, sorry. Blanket through the covering. You're gonna make sure that covering is there. Okay, with God, we always want to make sure that we're covered. And we're gonna go through that covering. Is that how you do it? Y'all got what I'm saying. Anyway, class is dismissed. Class is over. Y'all, benediction is done. I'm not gonna keep you. That was my last goodbye. See you on the next video.